Throughout the years, there have been some pretty amazing draft classes. For example, the 1984 draft class might be the best class ever. This was a draft that produced Michael Jordan, John Stockton, Charles Barkley, Hakeem Olajuwon, Sam Perkins, etc. Or you can even argue that the 1996 NBA draft class was the best. In fact, we have made a video on the 1996 draft class and how it would look if it were redone now. But this class was just stacked. It manufactured players like Kobe Bryant, Ray Allen, Steve Nash, Allen Iverson, Peja Stojakovic, Marcus Camby, Stephon Marbury, Derek Fisher, and Jermaine O'Neal. To note, the 80s weren't just a great decade for music, movies, and video games, but it also produced some of the best draft classes of all time. But for every great draft, there is a stinker. We may not know it at the time, but over time we can see how it evolves. And with the proper time elapsed, we can go over 5 of the worst NBA drafts since 2000. Yes, there have been some worse drafts that were before 2000, but let's stick to the younger crop of players for this. But before we jump in, please remember that if you've enjoyed the video thus far and can't wait to see what the 5 worst NBA draft class since 2000 are, please remember to hit the like and subscribe buttons, and make sure to tell your friends and family about the journey that we are about to embark on. Now let's dive in a bit deeper. In no particular order, let's start with the 2013 NBA draft. The number 1 overall pick, which went to the Cleveland Cavaliers, was Anthony Bennett from UNLV. This ranks up with one of the worst number 1 overall picks ever. Why? Because Anthony Bennett was out of league before the age of 24. That is pretty sad considering the number 1 overall pick is supposed to be franchise altering. Bennett quickly became the face of a draft that flopped, averaging 4.2 points and 3 rebounds per game in Cleveland in 2013-14 before the Cavs traded him. He then went on to spend 4 seasons in the league with 4 different teams and hasn't played in the NBA since the 2016-17 season. Rest in peace to Anthony Bennett's NBA career. What else made the 2013 draft one to forget? Well, it only produced 3 All-Stars, and 9 of the 60 players drafted never ended up playing in the NBA. Was there anything good that came out of this draft class? Actually, yes. The number 15th overall pick, Giannis Antetokounmpo, saved this draft class by developing into an MVP. Plus, number 2 overall pick, Victor Oladipo, has grown into a multi-time All-Star. But when we look back at this class from the top on down, we also see names like Cody Zeller, Alex Len, Ben McLemore, Michael Carter-Williams, and Shabazz Muhammad as lottery picks. Yuck. Moving on to another terrible draft class, there was the class of 2002. Seemingly, the draft started off alright with the number 1 overall pick by the Houston Rockets being Yao Ming from China. But even that is tempered, as Yao Ming, who was the face of this draft, only played 8 seasons. However, in those 8 seasons, he dominated pretty well and was an all-star in each season before his career was cut short due to injury. Even the 6th pick of this draft, DeJuan Wagner, had his career cut short due to injury. And looking at the class as a whole, only 4 players earned all-star bids from this class. Those players were Carlos Boozer, Caron Butler, Yao Ming, and Amare Stoudemire. It should be noted that they are all multi-year All-Stars as well. The last thing that put the cherry on top of this pathetic pie is that the top 5 picks in this class combined to play in only 2,509 games. Moving on to another terrible year, we land in 2006. This class had the number 1 overall pick going to the Toronto Raptors, and our friends to the north selected Andrea Bargnani from Italy. It is also important to note that this is the first year that high school players were not eligible to be selected. I hope they change that back soon, so we have a shot at seeing Bronny and Lebron playing together. There was some sneaky value in this draft as the number 24th overall pick, Kyle Lowry, went on to become a 6-time All-Star. The 47th pick, Paul Millsap, has earned himself 4 All-Star bids as well. And newly 2-time NBA champion, Rajon Rondo, was picked with the 21st overall pick and is a 4-time All-Star. The top of this draft had equal amounts of good and equal amounts of bad. But why does this draft class rank so poorly? The 7-foot number 1 overall pick, Andrea Bargnani, really never emerged to what was expected of the big man. I do remember he was traded to the Knicks at some point in his career, and just as advertised, he sucked. This was also a draft that featured Adam Morrison, who was picked 3rd overall in this draft. If you couldn't see he was going to be a bust in the NBA, then you don't know basketball. Patrick O'Bryant and Mohamed Sene, who were also top 10 picks in this draft, flopped. The salvage of this draft was from Rudy Gay, JJ Redick, and LaMarcus Aldridge, who were all valuable lottery picks. However, there were far more busts than anything in this draft. Another pathetic draft year was in 2014. In this draft, the number 1 overall pick was given to the Cleveland Cavaliers. How many times did they screw up a number 1 overall pick besides LeBron? And how many times will they get a number 1 overall pick? In true Cavs form, they selected and then traded Andrew Wiggins, who came out of Kansas. But to the Cavs' credit, they did receive Kevin Love in that deal and unloaded another terrible number 1 pick, Anthony Bennett. This draft class has fewer All-Stars, which are 2, than the 2015, 2016, and 2017 classes. It just so happens that the 2 stars, Joel Embiid and Nikola Jokic, who were selected in this year, turned out to be some of the best big men we've seen in a while. But if you look on the other side of the coin, the other top 10 picks, Andrew Wiggins, Jabari Parker, Dante Exum, Nick Stauskas, Noah Vonleh, and Eldred Payton have all, at least to this point, not been worth the price of where they were taken in the draft. And here we have arrived at the 5th terrible draft class we will look at. We needed to save one of the worst NBA draft classes for last. In the 2000 NBA draft class, there have been no MVPs, no multi-time All-Stars, and only one All-NBA player in Michael Redd, who actually happened to be drafted in the 2nd round. To put this into greater perspective, Kenyon Martin, out of Cincinnati, was the number 1 overall pick. He played 15 years in the league for 5 different teams, earned 1 All-Star bid, and had a respectable career. And it wasn't just that Kenyon Martin didn't quite live up to the hype that comes with being drafted number 1, it's that the rest of the first-round draft prospects performed spectacularly terrible too. This draft class had only 3 All-Stars, no multi-time All-Stars, and only 1 All-NBA player. I mean, the number 2 overall pick, Stremel Swift, was a career disappointment, making just 97 starts in 9 years. The number 3 overall pick, Darius Miles, had a ton of potential, but bad luck struck, and a knee injury early in his career proved to be his downfall. And let's not forget about Marcus Fizer, Jerome Moisko, and Mateen Cleaves, all lottery picks who, well, let's not mince words, were pathetic. Trying to find some bright spots in the 2000 draft is hard, but they are there. The number 5 overall pick, Mike Miller, played in the league for almost 2 decades and won 2 NBA championships. The number 16 overall pick, Hedo Turkoglu, was a big key to the Orlando Magic for a few years. If you scrape the bottom of the barrel looking for one more bright spot in the 2000 draft, number 2019 overall pick, Mark Madsen, who was just a career role player, won a pair of NBA championships. From top to bottom, this draft class will live in shame as one of the worst classes in the modern era of basketball.